Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, a gunman is still at large in Montana after killing 4 people at a bar Friday morning. The suspect is an Army veteran who lived next door to the bar. Authorities are warning that the man could return to the area. Rescuers are working to find survivors in Chile. That's after an earthquake caused underground passageways to collapse in the world's largest underground copper mine. The EPA proposed rolling back a 16-year-old scientific finding from the Obama administration that allowed the regulation of greenhouse gas emissions like CO2. 2 guests join us to unpack the science and impacts. You ever feel an uncontrollable urge to move your legs when trying to fall asleep? A neurologist sheds light on what could be a case of restless legs syndrome. And ever wonder why potato and tomato have such similar names? Well, scientists have uncovered the modern potato's ancestor might just be a tomato. Find out how that cross-pollination spills over into the spuds we buy today.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer. An Army veteran accused of killing 4 people at a bar in Montana is still on the run. He allegedly shot the victims on Friday morning in the town of Anaconda. Now, authorities are warning he could return to the town. Police say they found the white Ford F-150 pickup truck that suspect Michael Paul Brown used to flee the scene of the crime. They are searching part of a nearby forest area and have warned residents to seek safety. According to authorities, a bartender and 3 patrons were killed in the 10:30 a.m. Friday attack. A photo that allegedly shows Brown fleeing the scene has him shirtless and barefoot. The shooter's motive is still unclear. Public records show Brown lived right next to the bar. The bar's owner says Brown knew everyone who was there and did not have any conflicts with them. The suspect's niece told AP that he struggles with mental illness. A friend that spoke with NBC echoed the same view. Brown served in the U.S. Army and in Montana's National Guard. He was deployed in Iraq from 2004 to 2005. Montana's Attorney General says Brown is believed to be, quote, an armed and extremely dangerous individual and has advised the public to remain vigilant and call 911 immediately if he's spotted. Rescue efforts are underway for a group of miners trapped in a Chilean mine. 4 miners have already been found dead after an earthquake trapped them inside, and 2 are still waiting to be rescued.
Look, the mountain is always giving us warnings. There are some loud cracks. When I used to work in the workshop, sometimes we had to run out because the mountain gave warnings. But what do the supervisors do? Well, they're sent in anyway to set off the blasts, to break the rock, and to get the equipment out. They give you 10 or 15 minutes. Out and let's go, let's do it. In the end, we're miners. We're tough-skinned. That's what they say. But now, here are the consequences. We've learned that people are really affected because Codelco isn't saying anything about the progress of rescuing efforts. So I can only imagine how people must be feeling.
A 4.2 magnitude earthquake caused the collapse of some tunnels inside the mine Thursday. Miners were allegedly working deep underground at the time. 1 miner was reported dead just after the earthquake. 3 others were reported dead later. The mine is in central Chile, 43 miles from the country's capital. State-owned company Codelco runs the mine and said it has cleared almost 80 feet of blocked passageway so far. According to the BBC, the mine is called El Teniente and is the largest underground copper mine in the world. Authorities are investigating whether the earthquake was a natural occurrence or the result of mining activity. In 2010, Chile suffered a major mine collapse in the country's northern region. The rescue of 33 miners took nearly 70 days to complete. Trade deals, peace negotiations, and economic updates. The Trump administration achieved significant results this week. NTD's Daniel Monahan has your week in review.
President Trump was in Scotland this week. While there, he negotiated a landmark trade deal with the European Union, securing hundreds of billions of dollars in new U.S. investment and more.
It's a good deal for everybody, I believe. And I think you were saying this is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade.
It is. It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic.
President Trump also managed to play a role in brokering peace between Cambodia and Thailand.
I called the prime ministers of each, and I said, we're not going to make a trade deal unless you settle the war. A lot of people are killed, you know that.
The two countries announced an immediate and unconditional ceasefire soon after. Similar efforts by the Trump administration have brokered peace between Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and India and Pakistan.
It's well past time that President Trump was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
The president opened his new 18-hole golf course while in Scotland, even making time to play a quick round. Trump later returned home from his trip to Scotland with his grandkids in tow. The Trump administration announced multiple new trade deals this week with South Korea, Cambodia, Thailand, and Pakistan. Meanwhile, the president also imposed a 50% tariff on Brazil and some copper imports. President Trump announced the U.S. is officially restoring the Presidential Fitness Test and the Presidential Fitness Award.
This was a wonderful tradition, and we're bringing it back.
Trump brought together 30 top athletes to revive the fitness test for America's youth.
I've watched sort of the decline of the youth of America. And
President Trump, you've asked us to think big, you've inspired us to dream big, and you've enabled us to accomplish things that no other president has been able to do.
Second quarter GDP growth rate results came in at 3% this week, beating economists' expectations.
Real disposable family income is up, and personal savings are up. Other than that, we're not doing so great.
Tariff revenues also climbed to a record $150 billion so far this year. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was asked, as someone with experience running investment hedge funds, where he would put his money right now.
United States of America.
Brown University agreed to pay $50 million in a settlement over DEI and anti-Semitism, which restores funding. Education Secretary Linda McMahon discussed additional steps on Fox News.
They also have agreed, to recognize women as women and men as men, and not to allow men in women's sports.
Brown says the voluntary agreement will enable students to learn and educators to teach without government intrusion. And the EPA announced it is proposing to rescind the landmark 2009 endangerment finding. Critics argue the move will leave the EPA powerless to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
This week on Capitol Hill, a Senate committee advanced a bill to ban stock trading by lawmakers, presidents, and vice presidents. The vote led to tension between President Trump and Republican Senator Josh Hawley. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more on this and other key highlights from Washington.
We have information that no other people get, no other members of the public have. This bill would finally redress that.
Senator Josh Hawley, alongside Democrat Senator Gary Peters, introduced a bill to ban members of Congress and their spouses from trading stock. It also applies to presidents and vice presidents, but some of the key elements don't take effect until the start of the next term. President Trump says he supports the concept, but added that an investigation should be launched into Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. She's been under scrutiny over allegations that her family has benefited financially from inside knowledge. Trump took to Truth Social to criticize Josh Hawley after he shot down an amendment to investigate her. Hawley was the only Republican to vote to advance the bill. Some opposers argued it could cause unintended consequences.
The way it would disincentivize the very type of people we need serving here, people who run businesses, people who balance a checkbook, balance a budget. Those people don't want to serve here because we're already making it so unattractive.
Several lawmakers have introduced stock trading bans, but years of discussion has not yielded concrete floor action. Senators spent much of this week confirming Trump's nominees.
We've seen an unprecedented level of obstruction and delay and blocking from Democrats.
Two key nominees confirmed this week, a new CDC director and a controversial appellate court judge. Emile Beauvais is now on the bench at the Third Circuit. Democrats say whistleblower complaints against Beauvais need more investigation. Republicans pushed back.
A January 6th sympathizer on one of the highest courts in the country. They reward a man credibly accused of wanting to lie to judges,
I led an effort to review the disclosure document by document and analyze the facts. The documents don't say what my Democratic colleagues say they do.
Bouvet was confirmed on a vote of 50 to 49. A separate vote confirmed new CDC Director Susan Menares. She says her goal is to refocus the agency on tackling infectious diseases. As for China, a bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced several bills to counter the Chinese Communist Party's human rights abuses, aggression against Taiwan, and transnational repression.
It's particularly important that we establish a clear government-wide definition of transnational repression, one that recognizes it as a threat to democratic institutions and to fundamental rights.
It is projecting intimidation across borders, institutions, using political transnational repression as tools of coercion among people across the globe.
Now introduced, it's up to congressional leadership to advance the bills to the floor. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The Hamas terrorist group recently released a video of a hostage as he was forced to dig his own grave. Meanwhile, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff told hostage families that the U.S. and Israel are working to end the war in the Gaza Strip. NTD's Jason Perry has the story and a warning. This report includes content that some viewers may find disturbing.
The Hamas terrorist group released a disturbing video over the weekend. The video showed a very skinny Israeli hostage in a Hamas tunnel, and he was given a shovel and began to dig what was said would be his own grave. The hostage's brother, Elay David, spoke after the video was released, and doctors said his brother only has a few days to live.
We are shocked and horrified to see my younger brother as a human skeleton buried alive. We saw a new peak of cruelty of Hamas. We have to make sure the hostages are saved now, and also the people of Gaza.
Residents in Israel also went out to protest after Hamas released the disturbing video.
Yesterday we saw the videos of our hostages looking like skeletons, and we just couldn't stay home.
Also over the weekend, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff met with family members of hostages still held in the Gaza Strip. And in a recording of the meeting said to be reviewed by Reuters, Witkoff is heard saying that the U.S. is working with Israel on a, quote, very good plan that would end the war in the Gaza Strip. The father of a deceased hostage explained how the meeting went.
The fact that he sat with the families for over 2 hours, listening to every personal story and hearing each individual request, and he answered the last question and didn't go until then.
And in another development, Israel released a video of 3 Hamas terrorists surrendering in the northern Gaza Strip. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said they had emerged from the tunnels in Beit Hanun in the northern Gaza Strip. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Over in the Indo-Pacific, the Chinese and Russian navies today are holding joint drills in the Sea of Japan. The body of water is located between the Korean Peninsula and Japan's west coast. The drills kicked off just 2 days after verbal tensions between President Trump and former Russian president escalated. NTD's Flora Hua brings us the report.
A Russian news agency reported that the drills would include firing artillery, anti-submarine and air defense practice missions, and joint search and rescue missions. A large Russian anti-submarine ship and 2 Chinese destroyers are taking part in the exercises. The drills are scheduled to run until Tuesday. While the Chinese and Russian militaries enhance their ties, tensions between Washington and Moscow are escalating. On Thursday, the former president of Russia warned that President Trump should remember that Moscow possessed Soviet-era nuclear capabilities. The next day, President Trump said that he had ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in, quote, the appropriate regions in response to the former Russia leader's provocation. Flora Hua, NTD News.
A panel on Capitol Hill this week discussed a new film that exposes the Chinese regime's cover-up of the COVID-19 pandemic. NTD's Sam Wong has the story.
I would recommend it to my whole family, the world, because everyone needs to see this.
I felt that what I was watching was a big giveaway with of accurate details that could actually be happening today.
Pages of history always turn. What side are you on? Will be the true heritage you leave for the generations to come.
On Capitol Hill, a panel Thursday discusses a new movie titled The Unrestricted War. The film portrays how the Chinese Communist Party systematically concealed the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic, which ultimately led to a global outbreak.
We hope it can spark meaningful reflections and conversations, and also give people the courage to make the right decision when facing a difficult situation like this.
How'd you even get these numbers?
A drama based on true events, The Unrestricted War follows a Canadian virologist who spearheads a biotech venture in China. He is suddenly kidnapped by military agents in order to steal a sample of his own work from a Canadian lab.
They both exhibit high temperatures.
As people began to show signs of sickness, his conscience is put to test.
This is an absolutely stunning film. We must awaken to the reality that these people are intent on our destruction. Again, the Chinese Communist Party. And they are well advanced in accomplishing it through unrestricted warfare.
The film's title, Unrestricted War, comes from an actual strategy developed by a senior Chinese military officer. Its goal is to compromise nations from within through malign influence without firing a single shot.
Unrestricted war takes it to you, your families, in your bedrooms, in your businesses, in your family rooms, and on the street. It's everything short of war, everything short of conventional war. There's 150 methods to weaken your enemy from within, to make them capitulate and to take them out.
And the people who participated in the film's production are also victims of the CCP's unrestricted warfare.
We've been receiving harassments from the local government officials and warnings and threats from the National Security Office. And some of my family members' income got cut off by the local government.
The Unrestricted War premieres August 8th on Ganjin World Plus. For more information, be sure to visit gjw.us/unrestrictedwar for details. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Sam Wang, NTD News.
Coming up, the EPA proposed rolling back a 16-year-old scientific finding from the Obama administration that allowed the regulation of greenhouse gas emissions like CO2. Two guests join us to unpack the science and impacts. And do you ever feel an uncontrollable urge to move your legs when trying to fall asleep? A neurologist sheds light on what could be a case of restless legs syndrome when we come back.
Big things are happening at Mathis Home. Get Labor Day deals and save on everything for your home. They have hundreds of sofas and sectionals with styles you love at unbeatable prices. And they're the only place with top name recliners starting at just $199. Check out the latest looks in bedrooms and dining rooms and save big. Plus, you don't have to wait. They're all in stock with fast and easy financing and free delivery. Don't miss out. These Labor Day deals are happening now in every department at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
I trod on my glasses yesterday and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options only at selectspecs.com.
Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The Environmental Protection Agency's Lee Zeldin announced a proposal earlier this week to overturn a 16-year-old scientific finding from the Obama administration. It allowed 3 administrations to regulate greenhouse gas emissions like CO2. If successful, this would roll back climate rules on cars, undo $1 trillion in regulatory costs, and save over $54 billion each year. With the public comment period now open, here to break down what all of this means are 2 guests. William Happer, Professor Emeritus at the Department of Physics at Princeton University, and Gregory Wrightstone, Geologist and Executive Director of the CO2 Coalition. Thank you both so much for being here. Now, William, first, how big of a deal would this 2009 endangerment finding getting repealed be? Who has benefited under it so far?
Well, I'm not sure who this question is to, but I will answer it, and Greg can add to what I say. This is something that was long overdue. I mean, it was a ridiculous regulation that purported that carbon dioxide, which all of us breathe out, is a pollutant. I mean, I can't think of anything dumber than that, but that's what it was. And so finally, there's been an administration with the courage to tell the truth that it isn't a pollutant at all, and it's actually good for the earth to have more carbon dioxide.
And Gregory, this finding was the legal prerequisite used by the Obama and Biden administrations to regulate new car and engine emissions. What is the likely legal process of repealing this now?
Well, this right now is just dealing with cars and light trucks and vehicles, but it's sure to extend into the other things that are your viewers have had their freedoms systematically eroded using the endangerment finding. And this endangerment finding, they've been able to tell you what kind of car to drive over your head, look at the ceiling fan, regulate that. All of these electrical devices are your washer, dryer, dishwasher, are all the only thing you can buy today are government approved devices because of the endangerment finding. And so what this does is actually liberate Americans for freedom to choose what kind of appliances they want. If they want to buy a dishwasher that's very efficient in terms of washing dishes, not in terms of how much electricity you use, that should be my choice and your choice and all of your viewers' choices. So this is really Liberation Day for America and restoring a lot of the freedoms that were lost based on this failed endangerment finding.
Expanding on that, William, besides the legal angle, break down for us the science that's needed to decide whether or not this will get repealed.
Well, the science is quite clear. What they did, understand that in 2009, they excluded any contrary science. By contrary science, anything that indicated that CO2 was not a pollutant. But the Supreme Court rulings in 2024 now say you have to consider all of the science. And there's just a huge amount of science right now that disputes that actually confirms that carbon dioxide has hugely beneficial aspects, greening the earth, vegetation growth, crop production is exploding. And Dr. Happer can talk about perhaps about how the greenhouse gas warming potential is not quite what they say it is at all.
On that note, William, break down for us that aspect.
Well, as Greg said, the accusation against CO2 is that it would cause dangerous warming of the Earth. And, as usual, there's a grain of truth that CO2 will cause some warming, but the warming will be trivial. It will almost certainly be beneficial to most of the Earth. And the reason it warms is it's a greenhouse gas. It lets sunlight come through and warm the surface of the Earth, but it retards the cooling of the Earth by infrared radiation to space. And it's the balance of those two that determines the Earth's temperature. But it's a very inefficient greenhouse gas. It doesn't much matter if you double CO2, you only change the cooling radiation to space by 1%. It's a tiny effect. And so it's amazing that they've managed to blow up this molehill into this mountainous threat. It's not a threat at all. It's a benefit.
On that note, Gregory, in terms of how we got to the endangerment finding, was contradictory science a factor in that decision?
Actually, no, there was no contradictory science. And again, now bear in mind, things are different today than they were even just 2 years ago with two Supreme Court rulings last year. In the Ohio v. EPA, the State Farm Defense, they ruled, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that these regulatory agencies like the DOE, EPA, DOT, all of these alphabet soup regulatory, they need to consider all significant science that affects their judgment, which EPA in the endangerment finding did not do. And the evidence, we say, is entirely overwhelming. We see by almost every single metric you look at, we find that Earth's ecosystems are thriving and prospering, and the human conditions improving because of increases in CO2. It's really, really, I call it the greatest untold story of the 21st century, that of a thriving Earth and the thriving and benefits to humanity. It's a feel-good story, but they've turned this into a fear-mongering where children can't sleep at night because they're being lied to by the people promoting, we call it the climate industrial complex. Let's get back to true science, the scientific method. Enough of this consensus science and groupthink. We support the scientific method and critical thinking, which has been removed from many of these government agencies for 30 years or longer.
And William, on that note, there is a big focus on climate change or climate alarm, as some might say. Talk to us about some of the climate models that are used. What did these models get wrong?
Well, I think the main thing the models get wrong is that they know perfectly well that the direct effects of carbon dioxide will cause a very small warming of the Earth. If there are no other effects, if you double CO2, 100% increase, which would take more than a century, by the way, that would only warm the Earth by a little less than 1 degree centigrade. It's a trivial amount. And we may never double it anyway. And so what they've done is they've taken this trivial warming, which most people agree on, who understand how this works, and they've multiplied it by factors 3, 4, 5, and saying that there's these enormous positive feedbacks on the direct warming. That's completely crazy because most feedbacks in nature are negative. So most other systems in nature, the first thing you calculate is usually too big, not too small. It's even got a fancy name. It's called Le Chatelier's principle. And so everything they've done violates Le Chatelier's principle that works for everything else in nature, but it apparently doesn't work for climate alarmists.
And staying with you, William, we often hear about the U.S. and Europe talking about cutting emissions, whether that's in cars or cows even. But at the same time, the Carbon Brief notes that China is the world's largest annual greenhouse gas emitter and leads in coal use. How should we look at this if the argument is global warming and not regional?
Well, of course, China has built lots of very efficient new coal plants in the last 10 years. They're ultra supercritical plants, many of them. They're really good plants. And so they've raised the standard of living there. So that part of their policy is quite okay. And the CO2 they're emitting is good for the earth. You know, I'm not supporting any of the political things that they do, but I don't think there's a thing wrong with releasing carbon dioxide. You know, more power to them for that.
On that note, Gregory, you're the executive director of the CO2 Coalition. Give us a sense of what this coalition does and how this fits in with environmental discussions.
It was founded in 2015. We're 10 years old now by Dr. William Happer, our chair that was just on here. And we're some 200 of the top experts and scientists in the world that don't buy into, we don't toe the company line on climate change. We don't believe that human increases of emissions of CO2 are leading to harmful warming. And again, just the opposite. We see huge benefits. Our crops, crop growth records are being broken year after year, and they attribute 70% of that to increasing CO2. Crop growth and crop productivity is outpacing population growth. That's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing. We are in a warming trend. Yes, we are. It's been warming for more than 300 years. But you know what that does? That means since 1900, our growing seasons in the continental United States have increased by more than 2 weeks. That's a really good thing for agriculture. Your farmers will tell you they love that. So we're here at the CO2 Coalition. Our unofficial motto is "We love CO2, and so should you."
Well, Gregory Wrightstone, William Happer, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, America is the second favorite destination for millionaires leaving their home countries. International correspondent Arian Pazdar has more on where those millionaires are coming from and what other countries are on the favorites list. And do you ever feel an uncontrollable urge to move your legs when trying to fall asleep? A neurologist sheds light on what could be a case of restless legs syndrome. Details in just a minute here on NTD News.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere. And this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind.
You're really gonna like it.
I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me. There is a long way.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
The ways down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this road is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Good news for the United States. America is the second favorite destination for millionaires leaving their home countries. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has more on where those millionaires are coming from and what other countries are on the favorites list.
The United States is a dream choice for global millionaires leaving their current primary residence. That's according to the 2025 Henley Private Wealth Migration Report, which estimates the number of millionaires moving to different countries this year. The United States came in second place as the favorite new home for emigrating millionaires, behind the United Arab Emirates in the top spot and Italy in third place. In total, the US is expected to receive 7,500 new millionaires. Most are set to go to the UAE, where Dubai is located, with almost 10,000. Another 3,600 are expected to move to Italy by the end of this year. But where are these wealthy people coming from and choosing to leave in search of a new home? An expert told Business Insider that most of them are from the UK, China, and India. Great Britain is expected to lose over 16,000 millionaires, followed by China with 7,800 and India with 3,500. According to the report, millionaires are usually among the first people to relocate when, quote, conditions deteriorate. This may indicate future economic risks in those countries. In April, President Trump introduced the Golden Visa. It gives people a path to residency and citizenship after making an investment in the US worth at least $5 million. This might raise the number of millionaires moving to America in 2025. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
OpenAI has discontinued a feature that allowed shared ChatGPT conversations to appear in search engine results. The feature was described as a short-lived experiment. It let users create shareable links to their chats with an option to make them discoverable online. This comes after an article by Fast Company revealed thousands of the conversations were indexed on Google, raising privacy concerns. OpenAI's chief information security officer announced the company would remove the feature. Although the chats didn't directly identify users, some contained details that could reveal where the information came from. The option to make chats shareable was enabled by a checkbox, but its implications were not always clear to users. That issue brought on public backlash, prompting OpenAI to halt the feature to prevent unintended info sharing. Are restless legs keeping you up when you're eager for a good night's sleep? In this preview of Vital Signs, board-certified neurologist Dr. Alejandro Centurion joined Brennan Fallon to discuss the symptoms and treatments of an elusive condition that disturbs up to 10% of Americans.
Dr. Centurion, great to have you back on Vital Signs again.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Brendan.
This RLS, restless leg syndrome, is it a serious problem, would you say?
Well, it's one of these conditions that can range from being mild and just being a mild nuisance and annoyance for some people. But for many, it can be very severe and distressing. As you well know, we all need good sleep. And restless leg syndrome is one of the top 4 sleep disorder problems that people suffer from. And poor sleep can lead to anxiety, depression, and poor job performance, poor concentration. So those who have symptoms that are more severe or not well treated can certainly be very distressed by this disorder.
Does it always accompany insomnia? Do people have restless leg syndrome without having a sleep disturbance?
Well, most people that have restless leg syndrome, their symptoms begin oftentimes in the evening when they sit down to watch TV or have dinner, just when they're still, because it's a condition that comes on with stillness in the evening. But others, it just starts when they go to bed and they're lying in bed. And that's the typical time of onset. And for many, it can keep them from falling asleep because they feel this uncomfortable urge or compulsion to move the legs. Other people may describe it as a tingling, burning, cramping sensation. Some people describe it as an itch that you can't scratch. There's a lot of descriptions that people, how they describe it, but the underlying common denominator is that people have an urge to move the legs, and movement will help resolve the symptoms temporarily.
I think there's certainly enough to keep us awake at night already in this modern age. I know people who have dealt with this for years without getting any kind of relief from it. And it's, as you suggest, it's kind of this mysterious urge to move the legs often goes undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And in the past, it's been seen as a psychological issue in some circles. Is that possible, Dr. Centurion? Could it be a psychological issue?
It is not a psychological problem. We do know that there are certain changes in the brain that occur related to dopamine transmission as well as iron levels in the brain that contribute to this disorder. That being said, like many conditions, stress could make it worse. And interestingly, and we may talk about this a little bit later, that some of the medications that are used for treatment do carry a fairly significant placebo effect. I mean, there's about a 40% placebo response in the treatments that we use, suggesting that there is some response that we're getting that's not related to the medication directly. Although, that being said, I would say that many times medications are very necessary and can be very helpful as well.
To see that full interview and others on how to optimize health, go to ept.ms/vital signs. Vital Signs offers general health information not intended as medical diagnosis or advice. Please consult your doctor before undertaking a new health regimen.
Do you ever experience a moment where your mind goes completely blank? Neuroscientists call this mind blanking, a brief state where conscious thinking stops. And new research shows it's a distinct mental state. Studies using EEG and fMRI brain scans found that during mind blanking, brain activity slows and syncs up. It mirrors the patterns seen in deep sleep. In experiments, people reacted more slowly during mind blanks compared to when their minds wandered. Scientists think these blanks might act like mini resets for the brain, similar to deep sleep's role in clearing mental clutter. How much it happens varies person to person, anywhere from 5 to 20% of waking hours. Sleep-deprived people may experience more mind blanks than usual, suggesting it's a way the brain maintains its health, though it's not great for focus. Summer will soon start winding down and the school year is inching closer, so if your kid's sleep schedule is a bit off, it's time to get it back in line. Here's a look at how to get back into a school sleep routine.
In the classroom, the recipe for success starts before your student even gets to school. One of the main ingredients is sleep.
It's just as important as exercise and nutrition when it comes to children's ability to learn and grow and thrive.
Dr. Caroline Weingart with Nationwide Children's Hospital says if your child's sleep routine was derailed during summer, you're not alone. But you can start to reset that routine before school starts. Walk back their bedtime, but do it gradually.
Moving the bedtime up 15 minutes every night for 1 to 2 weeks until they're going to bed at the time that they'll be going to bed during the school year is one way to get them back on a normal sleep schedule.
Weingart says to make sure all phones and other devices are put away, ideally at least 1 hour before bed, in order to get their brain into sleep mode. She says to also focus on what time they wake up, have them start getting out of bed at the time they'll need to for school. While she says it's okay to sleep in a little on the weekends, keep their wake up time within an hour of when they get out of bed during the week.
So if they normally get up at 6:30 during the school week, get them up by about 7:30 on the weekend if possible, just to make it a little bit easier come Sunday night when it's time for them to go to bed.
Coming up, a revival of America's Gilded Age. Henry Clay Frick's New York mansion is now one of the Big Apple's most beloved museums. Details on why locals and tourists alike are flocking there this summer. And ever wonder why potato and tomato have such similar names? Well, scientists have uncovered the modern potato's ancestor might just be a tomato. Find out how that cross-pollination spills over into the spuds we buy today. That and more after the break.
This is such a gentle painting, so beautifully portrayed.
A group of people reading together in this simple, everyday-looking living room. A young girl reading along with an adult, a grandparent sitting in the lotus position, a businessman in his typical suit.
You see all those people, they look like they have quietly settled down there. And you as a viewer, it looks like you've just stepped in the door.
You can't see what it is they're reading, so you're a little bit curious and you're kind of invited to walk in.
This harmonious feeling is not by accident. It is the very subject of the work. The book they are reading is the main text of Falun Gong, which is an ancient Chinese spiritual discipline in the Buddhist tradition. At the core of Falun Gong are the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Unfortunately, the practice is banned in China, where the artist resides. Thousands have been killed for their faith. Golden energy blooms into the room as a result of their steadfast faith. The painting on the back wall reminds us of this work's title, Plum Blossoms in a Muddy World.
It's also a metaphor for the practitioners that are sitting in the room as plum blossoms.
They signify perseverance and hope that all brutal winters end and life is renewed once again.
The magical painting.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. A fresh crew of space explorers has arrived on the International Space Station after a 15-hour flight.
This has been the absolute journey of a lifetime. We are so incredibly grateful to be here. Thank you so much for this warm welcome. It was such an unbelievably beautiful sight to see the space station come into our view for the first time, especially with these wonderful crewmates.
They took off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Friday, traveling on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The crew includes 2 NASA astronauts, a Russian cosmonaut, and a Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut. They'll stay in space for a 6-month mission. The astronauts they're replacing will head home as early as Wednesday. Next, a revival of America's Gilded Age. Henry Clay Frick's New York mansion is now one of the Big Apple's most beloved museums. Here's a closer look at why locals and tourists alike are flocking there this summer. Watch.
Titans of industry, tycoons, robber barons, whatever we call them, this is how America's richest lived at the turn of the 20th century. Their stately mansions stand as a monument to a period now known as the Gilded Age. And even for an era known for its opulence, Henry Clay Frick's New York mansion is in a league of its own. Frick made his fortune the old-fashioned American way, industry with coke, iron and steel. And he spent much of that fortune building one of the finest private art collections in history.
Mr. Frick had a very specific taste. He was really going for quality. He was very, very selective in what he acquired. And he was really prepared to pay also serious money for the works.
A Rembrandt over there, that's a Vermeer. How about a Goya or a Holbein? Priceless works adorn every wall, and each day thousands of visitors flock to this Fifth Avenue mansion to view them, and almost certainly try to imagine what life was like for a Gilded Age tycoon.
There's a certain kind of almost aspirational quality also to it. You dream yourself a little bit when you come to this house, to this museum, what it would be like to live here.
Henry Frick lived here for only 5 years. He always envisaged the building would be open to the public after his death. More than 2 decades later, that wish was fulfilled. The Frick Collection opened its doors in 1935. Today, many of these rooms remain unchanged.
His daughter actually reports that late in the evening she would come into the big West Gallery, and there was his father just sitting there by himself, marveling at the collection.
And so history repeats itself. The Gilded Age has recaptured the public's imagination in the 2020s, set alight by HBO's Gilded Age.
We could rehearse a new production of Aida in here and still have plenty of room to spare.
After a 5-year, $250 million renovation, the Frick and its new director are ready to meet this moment.
I think in everyone's mind was first to open it and reopen it. And, that is the primary focus at the moment. I arrived here, we were still closed, and a few weeks later we had 3,000 people every day through the door.
The Frick Collection stands in a unique position along New York's Museum Mile with the Guggenheim, the Met and others. Because whilst they are larger institutions with changing exhibitions and collections, the Frick stands as a testament, a monument if you will, to a moment in time in American history, the Gilded Age.
If you're a fan of the outdoors, this Monday will be a good day to visit a national park. In honor of Great American Outdoors Day, the National Park Service will be waiving the entry fee to any of its parks on August 4th. It's to commemorate of the 5th anniversary of the Great American Outdoors Act. President Trump signed it into law in 2020. The Department of the Interior describes the legislation as the single largest investment in public lands in American history. It has helped support large-scale infrastructure projects and renovations to campgrounds in some of the nation's most beloved parks, including Yellowstone and Yosemite. A 1930s train is back in service, offering Londoners a glimpse of an older underground. The restored cars are taking passengers on special journeys to celebrate 200 years of rail travel in the UK. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the story.
This is a stock train from 1938, fully restored and back in service. More than 1,000 of these trains were built. Some continued operating on the Isle of Wight until 2021.
This 1938 stock train is really interesting because it has all of its electrical engineering under the floor, so it was quite technologically innovative. But it's also a really lovely example of design heritage as well, with the maquette seating, the wooden flooring, the lovely green paintwork.
Despite the seating being more spacious inside, the ride is much like a modern tube journey.
These seats are a lot more comfortable. That's the main thing I know. I mean, they're not built to cram as many people as possible into in the way that some of the more modern tubes are.
The train also features replica advertisements from the time. Passenger Andrew Berman called the experience, quote, a feast for the senses.
I like the retro adverts. Couldn't get away with most of that today. It's really funny. Yeah, I have to blow up the old bag and get away with it. That's interesting, yeah. But the adverts are fun. I like the design. I like the lighting, the Art Deco lighting.
Transportation writer Nick Broderick says the experience took him back in time.
Really, so to be able to have this opportunity to ride in one of these trains again it feels quite nostalgic, really, for something. Even though I was born too late to ride on them on the Underground, London Underground, it reminds me of my family holidays on the Isle of Wight.
Train enthusiast and photographer Luke Agbamoni prefers the older trains over modern ones.
They're built in a sort of different way. So you've got, I like how the windows are designed, the space is different, even the seating's different when you sit down. Like my favourite running train at the moment is the Bakerloo line trains because they are 1972. The modern trains are sort of built a bit more user-friendly. But yeah, I think these trains just feel a bit more, I don't know, they make me smile when I see them.
Today's riders benefit from modern technology like smartphones and contactless payments, but the restored train offers a reminder of how far the system has come. Another heritage run is planned for this September on the Metropolitan line. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And you say tomato, I say potato. Scientists say that's a lot more correct than it seems. Biologists have traced the origins of the potato back 9 million years to a tomato plant. Back then, an ancient wild tomato plant interbred with a potato-like plant called a tuberosum. It's not as out there as it seems, since both plants split from the same ancestor 5 million years prior. That cross-pollination gave the ancient potato something its modern version is known for, its tubers. That's the part we eat. Before that, it didn't have a tuber. The modification helped potatoes thrive because tubers help the plant store nutrients. The new finding was published in the journal Cell. That's all for today's news. For on-the-clock coverage, visit us at ntd.com/live or download our NTD app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Good night.